I have a general rule that every 8 to 9 months I try to take a month off the boat unless I'm still feeling really good, but usually that's starts to get to my burnout period. And I may go back to land, meaning the States, for 3 weeks to a month, sometimes 2 months if burnout was a little harder. That season was a little bit more than others. But generally, I'd say so 85% of the year I'm on the boat.
Wow, that's so much more than I expected you to say.
Bad decisions. Bad decisions. Bad decisions.
Welcome back to the Bad Decisions podcast, where we lead not with celebrity, but with story. I'm your host, Scott Nathan. Now, I'm a big consumer of YouTube, and among my varied interests, I've always taken a shine to adventurers and rugged individualists. The algorithm just kind of gets me. And a couple of months ago, while I was floating gently on the Atlantic somewhere between Charleston and Miami, I discovered Lauren Landers. When I first saw the thumbnail, I thought, okay, a fitness or swimwear model who sails. I'll bite, but never judge a book by its cover. Lauren Landers is a mariner and an explorer. Lauren is a 100-ton certified yacht captain, a freediving instructor, a spearfisherman woman who circumnavigates the globe on her 1993 Beneteau Oceana sailboat with her cat Mako. Welcome, Lauren Landers.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, same. So I always like to begin with origin stories. Now, if my information is correct, which it sometimes is, you grew up in landlocked Missouri. What was your childhood like?
Yeah, you're right. I grew up in Missouri in the southwest corner in a town called Joplin. The closest water was a lake there's a close one about 45 minutes away, but it was very muddy, so my parents never took us there, but we would go to one about 3 hours away a couple times during the summer, but for the most part, all my water exposure was just for a couple weeks every summer in the Bahamas. And I fell in love with the crystal clear water, snorkeling, and just everything that being on the water could offer you. But beyond that, it was very landlocked childhood, school, sports, and anything you do in a Midwest small town, I guess.
Well, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, so it's very relatable. And my very
Fair.
limited boating experience was summer camp in Wisconsin on little sunfish and little Hobie cats, which I wasn't particularly good at. And I've been recently going down that way. I've been spending a bunch of time in South Beach lately on a boat, and I'm very excited. I'm going to need you in a few weeks. I'm going to need some tips because we're going to the Bahamas for 3 weeks on his boat.
Oh, that's amazing. You're going to have the
Yeah,
best time. That's about the length we went for, and it was a highlight of my every year. You're going to love it.
excellent. So, what was your introduction to the ocean, and when did you truly get saltwater in your veins?
My first introduction was when I was 2 months old. My parents and grandfather, we went to the Bahamas on a boat, and they grabbed a drawer from his room, and that's what I slept in at 2 months old on the boat for those couple weeks. And I don't know when I fell in love with it. It was kind of a gradual thing. I just slowly over the years realized that's where I always wanted to go back to. That was my happy place. And by middle school, high school, I just knew that sailing and being on the water was what I wanted to do. I didn't really know anything beyond that or how or why. But I'd say it was those years that I knew that's what I wanted.
You're so lucky to have found your purpose early in life because most people don't. Let me ask
Very.
you something. What you do for a living is so many people's biggest fear. What's your relationship to fear now compared to the first time you sailed solo overnight?
That's a very good question. I think it's a good thing to have a healthy fear of something because with that, in my opinion, comes respect for whatever that is and understanding the risks you're taking at the same time as understanding the fear, not letting it consume you. So I think there's a fine line and a balance between being fearful and having a fear of something. My first overnight was not on my boat, but was with friends, and it just was it was a normal to them. So she put me on their first shift, and it was 4 hours long, and I wasn't scared at all. She was the captain on her boat, and it was just what they did. And I think that attitude kind of carried forward to when I had to do my first overnight. It was just, by that time, it was just a normal thing, especially in the Bahamas, which I knew so well. That was my first overnight, and I think that helped a lot. But
Yeah, it's also
going
not
into
like going through it's not like going through the Bering Sea alone.
yeah,
Or-
exactly. And so I'd say every sunset, whether it was Bahamas, the Caribbean, or this recent passage, you get a little nervous. It gets dark, and as many people know, when it gets dark, that's when things start going wrong on a boat, generally. And so you kind
Why
of
is
start
that?
wondering, what if you could answer that question, I'm sure a lot of people would be happy about it.
But it's just
But
it's a known thing. I didn't know. Okay.
it's a thing. It seems like that's when the worst squall will come, or that's when something really bad breaks. It just seems like that's when it always happens. And so you always have like that little fear of not being able to see well, something going wrong. And you can't see as well. It's dark, but you just kind of
And
have to hope for the best. And I think that's kind of what gets me through those fearful times of going into those night sails.
and I've heard you mention on your videos that you don't really get a night's sleep. You take naps here and there.
Yeah.
You just gotten used to
You're
that life.
Yeah, you're exactly right. A lot of short-handed sailors or single-handed sailors will do this different ways. I've learned the minimum nap I will do, is 20 minutes. And depending on traffic, depending on squalls, I may sleep up for a couple hours, like on the Pacific crossing when there is nothing I could do to control. I couldn't see in front of me at that point. Sky was clear. Winds were consistent. There was no traffic in the area, so why not take advantage of that and get 3 or 4 hours of sleep?
Good.
I tend to hear the wind and the sails and everything shift pretty quickly, no matter how deep asleep I am. So I'm okay taking longer naps, but if I'm in a busier area, 30-minute naps are my usual. And yeah, you get used to it, and it's not permanent. So at some point you are going to be able to sleep again, and
Sure.
it passes.
All right. So you live a rather monastic life at sea, but I noticed that you also seem to have, friend groups in various places. Do you consider yourself more introverted, more extroverted, or just a straight ambivert that does both?
I would say both. It kind of comes in waves out here. Sometimes you're going to be with a lot of people and you're going diving with people every day. Then you're having dinners and bonfires, and it's nonstop. And the next minute, I'm either sailing alone or sailing alone and then going to an island alone where I may be alone for another week or so. And it kind of just goes in waves. Sometimes you're with a lot of people and sometimes you're alone, but it's a nice balance. I like having that balance where I can have
I
my
like
alone
that
time, but
too.
also choose to
Yeah.
be with people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can be the life of the party and go for weeks, but then I get depleted and I need alone time. And what a sailboat is to you, a motorcycle is to me. Like I have ridden this country from sea to shining sea, up, down, left, right, all of it alone. And I sometimes like
Oh,
going
it's
camping alone,
amazing.
but then sometimes I'm just never alone and I have to be in fifth gear around people for weeks at a time. But then I need a break. I need to like be home alone and without pants on.
Exactly. And it's so nice to be able to have that balance. I think that's a special thing.
All right, fishing, spear or rod.
Spear, all the
All
way.
right. Favorite fish you like
I
to
won't
catch
catch
and
much
eat?
on rod. Well, I haven't done much spearing in the South Pacific yet. I have a feeling some of these species may jump to my favorites, but at the moment, it's tied between a hogfish on spear or a mahi wahoo on rod.
Do you always cook or do you ever sashimi?
Both.
All right, cool.
Yeah, you can't beat good sashimi.
I read on Reddit, so questionable reliability. I read that your father's a developer and or architect. What values did you learn from your parents and grandparents that helped shape you?
My dad always told us me and my brother, to do what we loved and follow our passion, and I think that had a large impact on me. And as far as like knowing that I love the ocean, and I didn't know what it would look like to make a job out of living on the ocean, but I knew he encouraged me to follow my heart when it came to that. And my parents were also very good in just encouraging us to try things growing up, as well as not giving up on things. So whether it was a sport or a class or whatever, we weren't allowed to quit usually. And I think that taught
Great.
us not to give up. So when it gets hard out here, yeah, giving up's easy, but that it can't be an option when you're sailing. And I think that has carried on. My grandfather obviously plays one of the biggest roles of me being out here, as he introduced us to the Bahamas, and I'll forever be thankful for that.
Now, do your grandparents, do they live full time there, or are they snowbirds, or?
My grandfather lives full-time in Fort Lauderdale, and so we would take
Okay.
little trips over there. And I went to school in Fort Lauderdale, which is where I started learning how to drive boats and become a captain as well.
Got you. How many siblings do you have?
Just one, a younger brother.
Okay, cool. So what was your mission plan when you first started becoming a content creator, and how has it evolved over time?
I actually never wanted to become a content creator. It was so my friends that had been sailing, I sailed with them before I got my boat, and two of them had tried YouTube, and I saw how much work they put into it. I saw how saturated this sailing YouTube market is, and I quickly learned that is not something I ever wanted to try to get into, because you have to get to a certain amount to even make it worth your time. So
Yeah.
when I got my boat, I was going to do charters, and my brand new engine broke on week 2 of having the boat. So I was stuck in Florida for a little bit, and I realized I have nothing else to do but work on the boat and maybe try to learn how to edit. So I started filming and editing around that time, and by the time I got back to the Bahamas, the videos started doing well, and I kind of balanced charters and YouTube for a little bit, and then YouTube kept growing, and I realized I could only do one of them eventually, so I chose YouTube because it gave me the flexibility. But with that, you are now a content creator, and your whole life revolves around filming, and the fun part is capturing all these beautiful places, but it also does put you on deadlines and has a little bit of stress with it, but I wouldn't change being a
No,
content
I know
creator.
a lot of people who do what you do, not on boats, but I know some heavyweight travel influencers, and as a commercial director and photographer, I see how much work you and everyone else put in. I know how much raw footage, and then the exhaustion of having to sift through it all, and you're like, did I pull focus? All just everything. Are my batteries good? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
And
it's
I and I and I,
constant, whether it's the
I
filming or the editing.
Yeah, it's relentless, and it is a job. It's not You're not on vacation turning on a GoPro once in a while. I see you. I see how much work it is, and you really do have a natural talent for visual storytelling. Like there's emotion. You have drone shots. You have different cameras. I really like how you do what you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate hearing that. That means a lot.
Yeah. So, how much of your business is charters versus content creation?
Now it is
Yeah.
only content creation. I think it's been that way for
Oh, okay.
about 2.5, 3 years now.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
have, yeah, last fall, I did start doing some charters with a group called the Odyssey Festival. They get a couple of us sailing YouTube channels together, and we charter a boat each channel charters a boat. And so we have a little sailing festival week, but that's about the limit of my chartering nowadays.
Okay. All right. What's the worst thing about living on boats, and why is it marine toilet paper?
I'd say the worst thing, that's a hard one. What comes to mind is the unpredictability of everything, whether it's the weather, what's going to break next, but there's also a beauty in that at the same time. Another downside is how much breaks all the time. But there's also positive is you get to learn your boat and you get to learn every time. I'd say those two are at the top of the list for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not much, I try not to be a complainer when someone invites me on their luxury yacht. And finally, I don't know why it didn't occur to me. I was sitting in the salon of this boat with a bunch of people there, and I was just like, is this toilet paper like made for boats? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, it is the worst. And they're like, what do you miss most about dry land? And I was like, I miss bathtubs and I miss real toilet paper and baby wipes. But it's not
Those
that
are
bad.
valid
I'll live.
concerns.
Yeah.
There are definitely things that you have to give up. That's one of them. Just so many little simple things that you don't think about, and then you live on a boat. For me, I've done a lot to this boat, but it's still very basic, and so I have no generator, so we're living off of solar power only, so it's always watching those batteries. How much water can I use? Can I take a long hot shower? That never happens on a boat. So there are these
Right.
little things that are luxury when you go back to land.
Yeah, I've been learning over the past few years as much as I can about boats because I'm just kind of newly really interested in them. So I have a cousin, also a woman, who lives on the San Francisco Bay, and she has a Dufour 34. An old
Beautiful
French boat,
boat.
mid 70s French boat. Yeah, very chic on the inside, like your boat, like all wood and beautiful. And I just noticed I would walk the piers during the day and fly my drone and stuff. And finally I just said, "What's up with this brand Beneteau? Almost every single boat in your harbor is a Beneteau." And she goes, "Yeah, we call them the Tesla Model Y of San Francisco because that's what everyone has." What do you love about your Beneteau? Why? Well, what made you choose this brand?
That's a great question. I wasn't tied down to a certain brand when I was looking for my boat, but I did know I wanted a older model because the hull is a lot stronger, especially in Beneteau's from the 90s compared to now. My boat is 23 tons, and I think the newer monohulls are probably between 10 and 15. And a lot of that
Wow.
comes from the teak and the thickness of the fiberglass. So I wanted it. She's a tank for what she is, and so I was really looking for something that was sturdy and not IKEA. But
Sure.
that was a big factor. And another thing I wanted, because I was originally going to be doing charters, was a boat big enough to have two couples or four people. I have 3 cabins on this boat and 3 heads. So I wanted my own master room because it's my home. I didn't want another charter
Sure.
room, but I also wanted 2 rooms that had their own private heads in the back. And this is one of the only boats I came across that had this layout. And so I was pretty sold on quickly on it.
It's so impressive watching you do all this back-breaking work, changing sinks and doing fluids on engines. And I'm like, it's like, I know you shouldn't presume things about people, but when I first looked at you, I was just like, she's outsourcing everything. You're not outsourcing much at all. You are doing this with your bare hands, and it's so cool.
Yeah. There's definitely things I wish I outsourced and that I wish I had the money to outsource. But there's also a big reward that comes with learning how to do it. And that's one of the things about being in remote places. When the second engine almost hydrolocked, I had no mechanics nearby. It was up to me to figure it out with some phone calls. And now I know how to do it. And it's just things like that. Over
No,
time, you look back and you're like, oh, maybe I didn't have to hire that out, or I could have done that, or your knowledge just grows. So there's definitely pros and cons to
yeah,
digging
yeah.
into the
I
work yourself.
Yeah, I mean, my father never taught me how to fix anything, but I bought a 40-year-old English motorcycle that had to be repaired before and after every ride. And that's how I learned. And I'm so glad I know how a motorcycle works because of that. So I definitely see the richness of it.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. I feel like it's the only way to learn. And then you feel safer at the same time.
what are the most important provisioning skills you've learned over the years?
It's a good question. As far as like dry stuff goes, there's a couple things. I've always tried to buy as much as I can on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. If I'm somewhere where I
Hmm.
can do that, I've saved a lot of money doing that. Buying in bulk, whatever that looks like for location wise, for me, it had always been Costco up until this past year. You save so much money doing that because, for example, just Florida, Bahamas, you can go buy all your canned stuff, pastas, toilet paper, paper towels, all your Amazon stuff, everything you can think of, buy it in the States, because once you get to the Bahamas, prices are 5 to 10 times that, if you can even find it there. Um, so thinking
Got you.
ahead is probably one of the best things you can do for provisioning, and always buy a little bit more than you think, or like know you're going to be out for 4 months, buy for 5 months, just in case.
Got I had a friend
Because
who
you also
told me.
never know what your grocery stores are going to look like.
Got you. I had a friend who did this run you're probably familiar with called the Coconut Milk Run. It's from Marina Del Rey to French Polynesia, where I think you are, right?
Yeah, that's
And
similar to what I did Panama to here.
yeah, he said he learned the most important lesson he learned was never ever ever bring potatoes on a boat because when they go bad, they destroy everything. Are there any like tips that you would advise against besides that?
I still buy potatoes,
Oh, okay.
and when they go bad, it's not the most pleasant thing, but I do try to keep them separated from other produce.
Got you.
Um, I'm not anti-banana. I have tons of bananas in the freezer for smoothies. I can't think
Okay.
of anything that I am totally against buying.
I just meant anything that just doesn't get along with salt air, I guess. But
Most things don't
hey,
like to be outside for long. Can definitely tell you
fair.
that much.
Fair. All right, so I've noticed that boating people tend to be tribal. My sailor friends generally hate motor yachts, and my motor yacht friends don't really understand why anyone would want to deal with sailing. What's your take on this? Do all boats matter? Because they do for me. I like them all.
So I'm in an interesting place, and I may be one of the few people that will ever give you this answer, but I love both. And part of that is because I grew up on a motorboat and I worked on power boats throughout college. And those boats have my heart. I love them. I love driving them. I love fixing them. But I also love sailing. So there's sometimes, even the past years, I've taken some breaks and went to drive power boats. And I know there's a big, like, exactly what you said, that exists out here, but there's no reason for it. I
I
was
agree.
trained when I was driving power boats. You see the sailboat and you slow down a little bit so your wake doesn't bother them. And then they appreciate the power boat more. It's just all respect out here is
I
what it
agree. I
needs to come
agree.
down to.
But bikers are tribal too. Like when I would ride with some people, they'd be like, "Oh, let's not go eat at the place with all the Harley guys," and I'm like, "I'll eat with the Vespa guys. Like if you're on two wheels, you're my friend. If you have a boat, you're my friend." And like
Yeah,
my
exactly.
friend in Miami's kind of posh, and he'll be like, "Oh, do you want to take the big boat to dinner and we can valet there?" And I'm like, "Can we please take the tender?" Because the little Williams tender is such a more visceral experience. I'm 6 inches above the water, like you're in the ocean instead of in a giant living room with a big screen TV and air conditioning. It just feels
Exactly.
more connected to Mother Nature. Plus, it's
For
fifty
sure.
dollars to valet the tender at the restaurant versus $250 to valet the big boat.
Yeah, dockage fees aren't the cheapest, especially in South Florida.
Yeah. Um, I've noticed you always have a handful of wardrobe changes in each episode. Have you ever counted your swimsuit collection?
That is one thing I get a lot, and I do have quite a few swimsuits. My mom
Triple
and I
digits?
now, We're probably getting there. Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Cripple in
All right.
pieces for sure. My
Okay.
mom and I, now mainly her, it's her job now, but we have a little thrift store in our hometown. So at the end of summer, we would always go and get pieces for anywhere from 30 cents to a couple dollars each. I'm kind of slowing down out of that, but you can never have too many out here.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was intentional from the get-go, but it really, like, the fashion show is kind of part of your brand, I think.
Yeah, I've gotten that before. I definitely have. Probably too many at this point.
So last night I was catching up on some episodes that I hadn't seen, and I noticed your father was wearing my college logo on an episode. Did he go to see
Yep.
you? Did he go there?
My brother actually went. So my brother just graduated a year ago from CU. So yeah,
I
family's
went
big
there. I
CU
loved it.
fans.
It was like the best 4 years of my life, and then I interned at Red
My
Rocks
brother
over the
says the
summer.
same.
Yeah, it's a great
Oh,
place.
that's amazing.
Um, have you ever considered writing a book?
Yes, I actually have. Videos take up a lot of time, so it's been a bit of a transition to figure out how to get in. I'm going to create videos and edit these videos every single day to I need to start writing. I've always been more of a writer than an editor, I would say. In college, I've always enjoyed writing. I worked for an editing center, and so that's always come a little bit more naturally to me, but I
Yeah.
do want to, and now it's pretty much time to shift what I work on day to day and get back into the creative writing mindset. I do want to.
Are you familiar with a creator called Itchy Boots?
I'm not.
You should check her out. She has a massive following. She's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Dutch lady who circumnavigates the globe by motorcycle in some of the most dangerous places in the world. And she just released. She has a huge millions of followers, and she's an incredible filmmaker. But her book is a New York Times bestseller, and she's a YouTuber like you, just on a
That's
motorcycle.
amazing.
So you should check out her channel and maybe take a look at her book. It
Yeah,
might
I
be,
should.
something to check out. Itchy Boots is her name.
Okay, I
Um,
definitely will. Thank you for that.
Of course. What do you think of Jeff and Lauren Bezos' yacht Koru?
I was actually docked very briefly right behind them in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands last year. I have a picture of my boat right in front of theirs. My
Oh
boat
my
looks
God,
like their dinghy.
I want to see it, but I have to say, credit where credit's due. I've eyeballed a few hyper yachts in my day. I think it's the most beautiful sailboat I've ever seen. Now, 36
It's
crew might
beautiful.
get on my nerves, but I don't see myself having that problem anytime soon.
Yeah, it's a beautiful boat. It's still very classy for how new it is, which I think is special that they brought that in. Yeah, I agree with you with the crew. That's one reason
Like
I like
there are
the smaller
36
boats.
gossiping people who are always fighting. It's got to be like below deck. Um,
For sure.
what do you watch on YouTube that isn't boating related? What are you into?
I actually never watched YouTube until I had a channel. And now I still don't watch much YouTube. A lot of us sailors, I mean, especially we live this lifestyle, so the last thing we want to watch is other people's boats breaking. But
Yeah, I
for the
don't
most
listen
part,
to or watch podcasts.
yeah, I probably wouldn't either.
Yeah.
I'd say once in a while I'll get on to check on my friends and what they're up to because the sailing community is very small, especially the sailing YouTube community. And
Yeah.
we, as sailors, we spend a lot of time together over a very small period of time and then we move on. So I'd say I usually watch YouTube just to kind of check in on friends and see what they've been up to
Got
in
you.
that sense.
I know you have Starlink, but what I learned firsthand from doing a big passage is it can get pricey at sea. How do you stay in touch with family and friends when you're in blue water?
Yeah, I use Starlink and I don't use the maritime version. It's super expensive, but I do use it's like $2 per gigabyte.
Yeah.
But one thing I do is stay away from uploading videos during that time if I can. Uploading content, trying not to stream. So basically using it for contact with family, friends, checking the weather, doing research on the next spot if I need to. I try to use it
And
more
then,
for those purposes than
and then
just
you'll do the uploads on dry
usual.
land.
Yeah, I try to do that as much as possible because it's unlimited and for the set price once you're within 12 miles of land.
Copy. So your boat is
Yeah.
named Sol de la Mar, or Soul of the Sea. Did you rename her, or was that her given name?
I renamed her. My mom was a big factor in that name. I am terrible at coming up with names, and she came up with it. The boat I grew up on going to the Bahamas was named Caribbean Soul. So I really wanted soul in it, and she came up with that, and it just stuck.
Very cool. So, Lauren, in a given year, how much are you on dry land versus at sea versus at port?
I have a general rule that every 8 to 9 months I try to take a month off the boat unless I'm still feeling really good, but usually that's starts to get to my burnout period. And I may go back to land, meaning the States, for 3 weeks to a month, sometimes 2 months if burnout was a little harder. That season was a little bit more than others. But generally, I'd say so 85% of the year I'm on the boat.
Wow, that's so much more than I expected you to say.
Yeah,
So,
it's
are
majority
you
of
just
it.
off during hurricane season? Is that when you're out, or are you just someplace else?
Past 2 years, it's been part of hurricane season. I've taken off mainly because it gets really hot in the Caribbean around that time, and it's just
Yeah.
easy to haul the boat out. We have a boat show in Annapolis where they have a lot of us YouTubers come, and it happens to be towards the tail end of hurricane season, so I usually go back for the month before that. This year will be the same, but it will actually be kind of starting cyclone season here. So I guess I'm timing that again. But I'm not too scared of hurricanes and hurricane seasons and such. I've learned that as long as you watch the weather, there's usually somewhere you can run from. So I think it's almost safer for the boat if I'm on the boat and can move
Hey,
it where it needs to be. But I suppose no
anecdotally,
one saw that.
we were the last boat into the Haulover Inlet when Hurricane Helene hit,
That's
and
terrifying.
I didn't know that there was a hurricane. I didn't know what the Haulover Inlet was. I'm sleeping in the forward cabin in the V berth of this boat, and all of a sudden it just starts thrashing. So I run up to the fly bridge, and their guys are soaked with salt water, and I just point off in the distance and I say, "What is that huge cylindrical thing full of lightning in the distance?" And they're like, "It's the storm, Nathan." And I'm like, I have to make a joke out of everything. So I was like, "Take me, Lord, I'm ready." And they're like, "Shut the F up, Scott." And I'm like, I dare you to take us." And they're like, "Go back downstairs." And then we were all like, "No one is going to believe this story." And then some guy, you know how there's those YouTubers that just shoot boats crashing in the Haulover?
Yeah.
There are multiple YouTubers of people that just shoot people screwing up in the Haulover. So
Yeah,
this guy
there's
somehow
quite a few videos. Yeah.
yeah, so there was a guy that's one of those YouTubers who had like a 600 millimeter lens and a cinema camera, and he caught us coming in like Fast and the Furious style, like drifting into the Haulover at full speed, and he sent us a video of it, and we became overnight maritime legends.
I'm not surprised. That inlet it can be nasty, which is why there's people filming all the time there, I guess. But
Yeah. So you attend a lot of events. What's your most awkward fan interaction that you've had in life or online?
honestly, there's not too many. The Annapolis Boat Show is probably where most of those types of interactions happen, and it's
Hmm.
always been an amazing time. Like most people that I get to meet, generally like have amazing stories or like whenever I leave Annapolis, it's encouraging to continue creating content. So it's always been very uplifting for the most part and super special.
So cool. What's something the ocean
Yeah.
taught you that no yoga class ever could?
um, I definitely don't panic. Things are always going to go wrong. It can get scary. Winds can pick up, and yeah, you never know. But I think that's one thing is like learning how to be calm amidst the storm, I guess you could say. I generally try to think through things and just keep a level mind when stuff goes wrong or gets scary. And it's not as scary at the end if I don't freak
Okay.
out.
If money were no object, what's your dream vessel?
Well, that's a good one. I don't know if I could answer that. Um, I love sailing, but I also love sport fishing boats. So if it was a motorboat, it would for sure be like a 70-foot Viking. Um,
I like a Viking. Good.
say I love them. That's what I worked on for a while. If it was sailing, I don't know what my dream sailing boat is. At the moment, it'd be something custom, but I still have no idea whether it'd be a mono, catamaran, trimaran, what length, whether it be
Right.
fiberglass or aluminum. I'm all up in
Maybe
the
it's
air on
maybe
that
it's
one.
maybe it's like love, you know, when you see it.
I hope so.
Yeah. Was there a single conversation, book, or night at sea that changed the way that you think and live?
I don't know if there's a specific one, but as far as like the way I live, I would say that comes more from the ocean conservation side of information. There's a lot of documentaries and books out there. Sylvia Earle's a great author, and has a great mission going. Sea Shepherd's another one I followed when I was younger, and I would say watching all those and learning about how just every little daily thing you do impacts the ocean. And I definitely try to be more mindful, especially being out here and surrounded by it constantly. You learn every little thing you do can be so minor, but all those little small things add up to something big. And I'd say that does impact how I live and just being mindful of consumerism and how energy and water usage, for example, and learning all that.
Well, it doesn't go unnoticed. You're a great steward of the sea, and
Thank
very
you.
much appreciated. What's the most surprising thing that anyone said to you that made you realize that your videos were impacting people in a real way?
There's been comments about people, like sometimes, what I get often in comments is sometimes just saying, what I really love seeing is like someone can't do it and they live through it and they love to see the diving footage and stuff that they may never see. That is very encouraging to continue filming that. Others will say, like, I just bought this boat because I figured if you could do it, I could take that leap. I'd
That's
say
so
that's
cool.
one I get quite often. And buying a boat is not a small thing. And so I
No.
think that's really cool that people feel like they can go do that just from seeing a video. And I love to see it.
How has fame impacted your life for better or for worse?
I would say it definitely makes it a little bit easier as far as sponsors and being able to upgrade the boat to where I've needed it to be and a bit safer. And also learning about things and being able to share the brands I like and that have worked for me and I think are really great. That's been a huge positive. I still don't, the number that shows up on YouTube subscribers still feels unreal to me. I still feel like the girl I was 5 years ago, like that just had a couple thousand Instagram subscribers. That's still me. It sometimes catches me off guard that this is the reality. I'm a little forgetful of it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I have a comparatively small YouTube channel, but I have a six-figure following on TikTok, and I get recognized a fair amount of the time. I was in San Francisco airport, and this guy who was almost 7 feet tall comes up to me. He goes, my man, TikTok. And I was like, yeah, hey. I go, what do you do? He goes, I play for the Golden State Warriors. And I'm like, an NBA player knows who I am and watches my videos.
Wow.
That's so cool, you know? So
It is cool, and I don't really know the word to describe it, but to be recognized out like that it's a interesting feeling.
yeah, it happens. I'm sure you get more of them than I do, but I do get some weirdos who send
That
unsolicited
definitely
things.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've gotten
It's
pretty
just
bad about going through message requests, and I definitely don't look at what YouTube filters out a lot of comments, and I don't bother looking at what they filtered out.
all right. Well, I'm glad my email got through to you. Let
Me
me ask
too.
you a kind of an esoteric question. Do you believe the ocean attracts people who are running from something or towards something?
It's a good question. I'm still figuring that one out. Um, I could say it probably could be both. I've definitely, in a way, I've probably ran to it for what it offers, but the solitude and everything that comes with it sailing solo, there's probably some running from something that this, which drew me into the solitude portion of it, just as much as diving made me want to run to the ocean for that purpose. I'd say there's definitely a mix of both, and for a million reasons, depending on the person as well.
I was going to ask you, do you think you'd still be out here doing this if no one was watching? And I think we've already gotten the answer to it. And that's an emphatic yes.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some days I wish I could just delete all social media, all internet, and just live out here for a little bit. And some days I do. Some days, like if I go diving, it's easy just to take the GoPro and not vlog. And those days feels a little bit like forgetting all of the computers. And if I take a day away from editing, it's nice. It's a little
Well,
more
you
laid
can
back.
take a break. Do you watch
Once in a while.
do you watch the Outdoor Boys?
I don't. I've heard of them, but I don't watch
So
them.
they were like he was like the biggest guy on YouTube for adventurers, and I'm sure you heard this like a month ago. He's just like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm tired of everyone knowing who I
I've
am.
heard,
But he's made a
yeah,
fortune. I mean, he's probably making mid six
that's,
figures a month from it, so I think he's fine. You know?
yeah, it's like once you reach a point, I know there's some sailing channels, they take a break every 4 or 5 months now, and they only post once every 10 days or so. And there
Yeah.
definitely becomes a balance that you can transition to as your channel gets bigger. And that's, for me, that's something to work towards too, for sure.
Have you ever thought about what kind of elder you'll be after this chapter of your life?
The question has gone through my mind. The answer has not showed up yet.
Well, you got a lot of tread left on the tires. I don't think you have to decide right now.
I hope not.
What's the moment you felt most proud of yourself at sea? Or one?
There's definitely been a few. At the end of this crossing, after 28 days alone, that was a very surreal moment. And it wasn't just because, I'd say even leaving Panama was not as intense, but felt equally rewarding, because it's not just the passage that makes you feel rewarded, but it's all the work that led up to that. So learning every little thing the boat needed to upgrade, needed to replace, and at the same time learning all the little things that needed to be fixed, how to fix them, and getting to the point where you're able to cross an ocean. And then on top of that, able to do it alone. So by the time I reached the Pacific, it wasn't just the crossing, but it was all those little moments that had added up to me being able to do the crossing. And once I made it, it was an amazing feeling.
You're so lucky, by the way, to have Mako who's down because I tried. I think I sent you the link, but I went everywhere in the world.
Yes.
My cat has been to 40 countries, and people
it's
would
amazing.
kind of get rattled by it. Like he was on the bow of the Dufour under the Golden Gate Bridge, and someone goes, "Is that a cat?" And I go, "No, it's a German Shepherd." "Yeah, it's a cat." And they go, "Cats do not like boats." And I'm like, "He's fine. Do you see him? He's fine. He's gone
He
horseback
looks
riding
miserable,
with me."
right?
Yeah, he's been
That's
to
impressive.
Paris.
Mako would
I
never.
walked into a hotel in Paris at the Georges V, and the doorman goes, "Monsieur Herman." I go, "How do you know my cat?" Because I got him from someone who went to Paris a lot. And I'm like, I love that the doorman knows who my cat is, but not me.
That's hilarious.
And he was just down.
Yeah.
People be like, "Your cat cannot be happy." I'm like, I took my cat to Ozfest to a loud heavy metal show on my shoulder. He was fine. So, like,
That's
you're
a
lucky
cool
that
cat.
you got a good adventure cat.
Yeah, cats can be great companions, and they tell you when they're not happy. It's very
Absolutely.
apparent if they don't like something. Mako will pout for a little bit, but after his
I like
day
when
of
he gets
pouting's over, he comes. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
like when he gets a little bitchy sometimes. He'll be like, "I'm done playing," and he'll do the little snap, like the little bitey cat thing. I'm like, okay.
It's pretty often.
Yeah, so is this
He
no, I
loves
know
to
I've
play, but he's also like, nope, that's enough. Go away from me.
Yeah, so was this 29 days? Was this your longest passage?
Yeah, it was my longest and probably will be my longest unless I chose to do it again or do some type of sail nonstop somewhere.
All right, so what else is on the list? If we can get a little sneak preview, what are some of your dream future ocean voyages?
For now, I'm here in French Polynesia. I got my long stay visa, so I'm going to be exploring all the atolls here for the next year or two. And then I want to continue heading west to Fiji, Tonga, still trying to figure out Australia, New Zealand with Mako. But the Philippines, Micronesia, just all the little islands scattered west of here is where I want to go, continue to get lost in.
What an amazing and impressive life. Lauren Landers, I want to thank you for being here and taking the time out. I know you're a busy person, and I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
The Bad Decisions podcast was produced by Brock Workman of Her Dad Entertainment. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. My book, The Big Book of Bad Decisions, is available for purchase wherever books are sold. A special thanks to today's guest, Lauren Landers, for joining me. I'm your host, Scott Nathan. Thanks for listening.